The crystalline spires of Korvac Prime shattered like glass under the relentless bombardment. Elder Veltar pressed his six-fingered hands against the communication console, watching through the transparent walls as his people's greatest cities crumbled into glowing fragments. The harvester swarms moved like a plague of metallic locusts, consuming everything in their path. "How many worlds have they taken now?" whispered his aide, her voice barely audible over the distant explosions. 17, Veltar replied, his throat tight with grief. 17 worlds in just 3 rotations. The Corvanians had never known war. For thousands of years, they had lived in peace, their crystalline architecture reflecting their transparent, honest society. They grew food, created art, and studied the stars. Their most advanced weapons were mining tools. Against the harvester swarms, they might as well have been throwing flower petals at a hurricane. Veltar's trembling appendages moved across the quantum beacon controls. This ancient device, meant for peaceful contact between civilizations, was now their last hope. The message had to be perfect. It had to convey their desperation without seeming threatening. "Send this to the Galactic Aid Consortium," he whispered into the transmitter. "We are a peaceful people, facing extinction. Our worlds burn. Our children hide in crystal caves, while death falls from the sky. We seek gentle assistance from benevolent protectors. We ask for mercy, for evacuation, for any help you can provide. We have no weapons, no armies, only hope that someone in this vast galaxy still believes in protecting the innocent." The transmission fired into the void, racing through the darkness between stars. Veltar watched the beacon's light fade, knowing it carried their civilization's final plea. Behind him, another spire collapsed, its musical chimes silenced forever. "Will they come?" his aide asked. Veltar closed his eyes, feeling the vibrations of destruction through the crystal floor. "Someone will hear us. Someone good. Someone who protects those who cannot protect themselves." The beacon's message shot through space, carrying their desperate hope to whatever kind souls might be listening in the darkness. The coffee had gone cold hours ago, but Min didn't notice. Her eyes were glued to the screens at Titan Station's deep space monitoring facility, watching wave patterns dance across her displays. 3 days into her night shift, and the universe had finally decided to get interesting. "Jay, you need to see this," she called across the dimly lit room. Jay rolled his chair over, pushing his glasses up his nose. The linguistics expert had been hoping for a quiet shift to catch up on his research papers. "Another rock concert from the Centauri colonies. No, this is different. Look at these patterns." Min pointed to the cascading lines of data. "It's structured, deliberate, and it's not from any human settlement." Jay's expression changed instantly. First contact protocols flooded his mind as he leaned closer to the screen. "Are you sure it's not some deep space probe malfunction?" "Dead sure. The signal's too complex, too organized. And Jay, ... Min's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's repeating, like a distress call." For the next 6 hours, they worked side by side, running the alien transmission through every translation algorithm in Earth's databases. Jay's coffee cup grew a small mountain of empty sugar packets as he muttered linguistic theories under his breath. "Got something," Jay announced, his voice cracking with exhaustion and excitement. "The basic structure, it's a plea for help. They're asking for gentle assistance from benevolent protectors." Min leaned back in her chair, stretching her aching back. "Sounds formal, official. Yeah, like a government requesting aid." Jay scrolled through more translated fragments. They mention evacuation, humanitarian assistance, protection of innocents, professional terminology. "So the galactic peacekeepers are finally asking Earth for backup?" Min asked, pulling up stellar maps. "Makes sense. We've been waiting for them to realize they need our help with these refugee situations." Jay nodded, Already drafting the report for Earth Defense Command. Looks like some raiders are bothering a peaceful species. Standard peacekeeping mission. Neither of them realized they had just misinterpreted the most important message in human history. Admiral Wan sipped his morning coffee while reading the decoded alien transmission on his tablet. The Earth Defense Command headquarters buzzed with its usual morning activity, officers moving between briefing rooms and communication centers. 2-1, this looked like just another routine request. So let me get this straight, one said to his aide, Lieutenant Commander Hack. The Galactic Peacekeepers finally want our help with a refugee situation. That's how the linguists interpreted it, sir. Some peaceful species called Corvanians are having trouble with raiders. Standard humanitarian crisis. One nodded, scrolling through his available fleet assignments. After humanity's recent conflicts in the outer colonies, most of his heavy battle groups were either in maintenance or on patrol duty. What do we have available for immediate deployment? Hack consulted his datapad. The 7th Fleet just finished their training exercises. 12 battlecruisers, all fresh crews, fully stocked, perfect. One made a note in his mission log. That should be more than enough for some pirates bothering civilians. We don't want to look like we're overreacting to our first Galactic Peacekeeper request. Should we send the full battle group, sir? One paused, considering, in human terms, 12 battlecruisers represented remarkable restraint. Just 5 years ago, Earth had sent 36 ships to deal with the Proxima Rebellion. No, 12 is plenty. We want to show we're helpful, not that we're trying to take over their operation. He pulled up Captain Bo's service record. 3 tours in the colonial wars, excellent marks in civilian protection protocols, known for her measured approach to conflict resolution. Get me Captain Bo. She's got experience with delicate situations. The Soul's Fury and her escorts. Exactly. Bo knows how to handle these things with a light touch. One finished his coffee, already moving on to other matters. Standard peacekeeping loadout. No need for anything heavy. These are probably just some small-time raiders, picking on defenseless civilians. As one signed the deployment orders, he felt satisfied with his measured response. Earth would help their galactic neighbors without appearing aggressive. It was perfect diplomacy. He had no idea he'd just authorized what the galaxy would remember as the most terrifying rescue mission in recorded history. Captain Bo walked through the hangar bay of the Soul's Fury, watching her crew prepare for what command had called a standard humanitarian mission. The massive battle cruiser hummed with activity as loading crews moved equipment and supplies into position. How's the loadout coming, Il? Bo asked her weapons commander, who was checking items off a digital clipboard. Commander Il looked up from supervising the ammunition loading. Almost done, Captain. We're going light, like you requested. Just the basic peacekeeping package. Bo nodded approvingly as she watched the loading crews guide massive shells into the ship's magazine. Each projectile was the size of a small building, designed to punch through heavily armored targets. Good. We don't want to seem aggressive on our first joint operation with the Galactic Peacekeepers. The plasma cannons are calibrated for precision strikes, reported Lieutenant Kang from the weapons bay. Perfect for taking out pirate ships without damaging nearby civilian vessels. Bo made a note in her log. The plasma cannons could melt through a mountain, but their targeting systems were precise enough to remove individual buildings without touching the ones next to them. Ideal for protecting innocent lives. What about the kinetic bombardment system? She asked. Loaded with standard penetrator rounds, Il replied. Just in case these raiders have heavy shields or are hiding in asteroid bases. The penetrator rounds were tungsten rods that could crack continents when fired from orbit, but Bo considered them essential for any rescue mission. You never knew when pirates might be using civilian hostages as human shields in underground bunkers, and the fusion torpedoes. Just a basic spread, Captain. 24 per ship. Should be plenty for a small raider fleet. Bo smiled. Each torpedo carried enough explosive power to turn a city into glass, but limiting themselves to just 24 showed remarkable restraint. Her crew understood the importance of measured force when protecting civilians. Excellent work, everyone. This should be a textbook peacekeeping operation. Bo felt confident that her carefully limited arsenal would be perfect for gently removing some troublesome pirates without causing unnecessary destruction. The galaxy was about to learn what humans considered gentle. The space around Korvac Prime suddenly filled with impossible shapes. Where moments before there had been empty starfield, 12 massive human battlecruisers now hung in the void like sleeping giants. Each vessel stretched longer than a Corvanian city, their dark hulls bristling with weapon systems that hummed with barely contained energy. Captain Bo stood on the bridge of the Soul's Fury, looking out at the beautiful crystal world spinning below them. The planet's surface sparkled like a jewel, even with the smoke rising from several burning cities. "Beautiful world," she murmured to Commander Ill. "No wonder pirates want to raid it." "Should we announce our arrival, Captain?" asked Communications Officer SEO, of course. "We want them to know help has arrived." Bo straightened her uniform and activated the communication system. "This is Captain Bo of Earth Defense. We received your request for assistance. The 7th Fleet stands ready to provide humanitarian aid and civilian protection." Down on the planet's surface, Elder Veltar watched the human ships appear on his emergency council's viewing screens. His crystalline skin went pale as he realized what he was looking at. These weren't rescue vessels. These were warships. Massive, terrifying instruments of destruction that radiated energy signatures his sensors could barely measure. "Elder," whispered his aide, her voice shaking. "Those ships. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy our entire planet." Other council members stared in stunned silence at the display. They had expected gentle rescue ships, maybe some lightly armed transports to help evacuate their people. Instead, a fleet of dreadnoughts floated above their world like hovering death. "Are those the galactic peacekeepers?" someone asked. Veltar's throat went dry as ancient warnings echoed in his memory. Stories passed down through generations about a species from a death world being so violent that they considered genocide a form of diplomacy. "No," he whispered. "Those are humans. We sent our distress call to the Deathworlders." The council chamber fell silent except for the distant rumble of burning cities. They had asked for salvation and accidentally summoned the galaxy's most feared predators. Communications Officer Ra's hands shook as she opened a channel between the human fleet and the Corvanian Emergency Council. The translation system struggled with the complexity of what was happening, but the growing horror in both voices came through clearly. "Captain Bo," Raz's voice cracked over the intercom. "I think we need to talk. There's been a situation on the bridge of the Soul's Fury." Captain Bo frowned at her communication officer's tone. "What kind of situation, Ra?" "The Corvanians. They never contacted the Galactic Peacekeepers. They thought they were calling someone called the Galactic Aid Consortium, some kind of civilian rescue organization." Commander Ill looked up from his tactical display. "That doesn't make sense. Why would civilians handle a pirate problem?" Down on Korvac Prime, Elder Veltar listened to the translation with growing dread. His aide pulled up ancient galactic databases, records that their peaceful society rarely accessed. "Elder, look at this. Humans. They come from something called a death world, a planet so dangerous that survival requires constant warfare." The database entries painted a terrifying picture. Humans had fought their way off a world that actively tried to kill them every day, whether that could level cities, predators that hunted in packs, diseases that could wipe out entire populations. And somehow, these beings had not just survived, but thrived. "They think war is normal," Veltar read aloud, his voice barely a whisper. "Their idea of light casualties would be considered a genocide by peaceful species." Captain Bo was having her own moment of realization. "Ra," Are you telling me these people have never fought anyone? Ever? That's correct, Captain. They're completely pacifist. No military, no weapons, no combat experience. They were asking for evacuation ships and medical aid. The bridge fell silent. Il set down his weapons readiness report, suddenly understanding the massive mistake they'd made. Captain, we brought enough firepower to flatten continents. They were expecting medical transports. Both species stared at each other across the void, realizing that a simple translation error had brought together the galaxy's most peaceful civilization with its most dangerous predators. The Harvester fleet dropped out of hyperspace like a swarm of metallic locusts, their biomechanical ships stretching across the star system in a formation that had consumed 17 worlds. Fleet Commander Grixtel felt the familiar hunger of anticipated victory. The Corvanians had called for help, but who would answer? More crystal builders with their pathetic peace songs. Sir, we're detecting unknown vessels in orbit around the primary world, reported his scanner operator. Grixtel barely glanced at the display. Probably more refugees trying to escape. Destroy them first, then continue with the harvest. On the bridge of the Soul's Fury, Tactical Officer Du watched the enemy fleet materialize on his screens. Captain, we have multiple hostile contacts. Looks like the raiders finally showed up. Captain Bo studied the formation. 300 Harvester ships spread across space like a dark cloud. How many civilians do you think they have as prisoners on those vessels? Unknown, Captain, but those ship designs. They're built for consumption, not capture. Bo's expression hardened. These weren't pirates taking hostages. These were something far worse. All ships, this is Bo. We have civilians to protect. Engage with minimal force. I want surgical strikes only. No collateral damage. Weapons officer, you powered up the plasma cannons. Minimal force. Aye, Captain. Targeting enemy command vessels first. Fire when ready, Bo ordered calmly. The Soul's Fury spoke first. A single plasma beam lanced across space, striking the Harvester flagship dead center. The biomechanical vessels simply ceased to exist, vaporized in a flash of superheated energy that lit up the entire star system. Good shot, you. Clean and precise, Bo noted approvingly. Commander Il coordinated the fleet's response. All ships, follow the flagship's lead. Minimal weapons only. We want to disable, not destroy. 11 more plasma beams fired simultaneously. 11 more Harvester ships vanished instantly, their atomic structures torn apart by forces designed to melt through planetary armor. Grixtel stared at his displays in absolute terror as one of his fleet disappeared in the first 3 seconds of combat. Whatever these creatures were, they had just casually erased his most powerful vessels, like they were swatting insects. Commander Il coordinated the fleet movements with the precision of a surgeon. Captain, I'm positioning us in a defensive screen around the planet. Standard civilian protection formation. Captain Bo nodded as she watched the tactical display. The remaining Harvester ships tried to scatter, but human battle doctrine was designed around one core principle. Never let the enemy escape to hurt innocents later. Good thinking, Il. We can't let any of them slip past us to threaten other worlds. The Soul's Fury and her sister ships moved into what humans called a containment pattern. To any outside observer, it looked like 12 predators herding prey into a killing field. The Harvester fleet found themselves trapped between the human ships and the planet they had come to consume. Weapons officer Yu, I want clean eliminations, Bo ordered. No damaged ships limping away to terrorize other civilians. Understood, Captain. Switching to rapid-fire mode for efficiency. What followed was what human tactical manuals called a standard pest control operation. Plasma cannons fired in measured bursts, each shot precisely calculated to completely eliminate a target without wasting energy. Kinetic rounds punched through Harvester formations like needles through paper. The fusion torpedoes weren't even necessary. Fleet Commander Grixtol watched his armada disappear ship by ship. These humans fought with a cold, mechanical efficiency that made his swarm's brutality look like child's play. They didn't scream battle cries or show emotion. They simply deleted his forces from existence with the same casual attention someone might give to cleaning their workspace. "Sir, we've lost 200 ships," his tactical officer screamed. "All ships retreat," Grixtol ordered, but it was too late. The humans had positioned themselves perfectly. There was nowhere to run by the 8th minute. The space where the Harvester fleet had been was empty, except for cooling plasma and drifting metal fragments. Captain Bo checked her chronometer and made a note in her log. "Hostile force neutralized. No human casualties. Mission accomplished." The threat that had devoured 17 worlds had been erased from existence by what humans considered a routine police action. Elder Valtar's crystalline hands trembled as he stood in the ruins of his council chamber, speaking directly to Captain Bo via holographic communication. Behind him, his people were already beginning to rebuild, their crystal cities slowly reforming from the rubble. "Captain Bo," Valtar began, his voice filled with wonder and terror, "you destroyed a fleet that consumed 17 worlds in 8 minutes, and you call this restraint?" Captain Bo looked genuinely puzzled by the question. "Of course, Elder. We used only conventional weapons. No nuclear missiles, no planet crackers, no biological weapons. We were very careful not to damage your world, or harm any civilians." The Corvanian council members exchanged glances of pure amazement. Commander Ill appeared on the communication screen next to Bo. "We also used minimal crew rotations. Most of our people didn't even need to leave their bunks." "Minimal crew," Veltar Said whispered. "They destroyed the Harvester swarm with a skeleton crew?" Bo nodded matter-of-factly. "Standard peacekeeping protocol. We didn't want to seem aggressive by bringing our full military capacity to what we thought was a simple pirate problem." Elder Valtar slowly understood the terrifying truth. These humans, these creatures from a death world, had casually erased an extinction-level threat while holding back their true power. Their mercy was absolute annihilation. Their restraint was overwhelming force. "What would you have done if this had been a real war?" Valtar asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Bo exchanged a look with Ilwell. "Well, we would have used our Sirius ships, and probably brought more than 12 vessels." The implications hit the Corvanian like a physical blow. This unstoppable force was just a tiny fraction of human military capability. They had witnessed humanity's version of a gentle police action, as news of the battle spread across the galaxy. Species that had never heard of humans began to whisper a new truth. Sometimes the greatest monsters made the most reliable protectors. The Corvanians had learned that, when facing extinction, you don't call for saints, you call for devils who fight for the right side.